Man meets woman. Early days, everything is hunky-dory, very nice. So man says, in Tabla language, Dhati dage na tha. The lady says, Kiti tekta. 2 years down the line, Dhati dage na tuna ke na? Kiti tekta kiti dena tha. Kridane kiti tekta kiti dage dage na tuna ke na tha. Hin tere kiti tekta tere kiti tekta titta. 7 years later, Kridane dage kiti dage kiti dage kiti ta. Kiti tekta kiti tekta kiti tekta kiti tuna kiti ta. Gina da gina da. Kiti kiti ta. Dhati da. Dhati da. You will not believe, Sony Music had entered India in 2001. I made one track, Rhythm Speaks, the first track, which is hugely popular today, across the globe. And I said, I'm going to send it to Sony Music. I don't have their address. So what I do is I put a CD in a little courier case and I write Sony Music Mumbai. That's it. The interesting part is I then broke the mold of the look also. So the look change is mind-blowing, Then I grew my hair, got myself Gandhi glasses. This I'm still wearing.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Indulge podcast. Today we have a very interesting guest who has 200 music albums behind him and almost over 58 films compositions. And we are talking about none other than Bickram Ghosh, the great Tabla maestro, who is today enlivening our show. Hello Bickram.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show.
How are you and what's keeping you busy now?
A bunch of stuff. There are 2 or 3 films. There are about 7 or 8 albums and a whole list of performances and travel touring, etc. across the globe.
How do you straddle between so many genres and which genre is closest to your heart?
I have bifurcated parts in my brain and that's what my wife says. She says this is the other one now. So it's like that, it's all, and it's been like that from my childhood. I think it stems way back into my childhood because I'm an only child and only children, if they're left alone many hours, they create worlds in their head. And I think I used to do that as a child. And my parents, Pandit Shankar Ghosh, my father, my guru, one of the greatest tabla players, Sanjukta Ghosh, my mother, a great vocalist. So they were always busy. And I grew up in San Rafael in the USA till I was 6. And we were at the Aligarh College where my father and mother both were teaching. And Baba was touring frantically those days. And Ma was busy with her classes. And the interesting part is that I had to fend for myself many hours, sitting on my own, playing ball. The way I used to kind of, conjure up worlds in my head. And the interesting part is because we were there then and living in a house, 2-storied house, upper floor, me, Ma and Baba, and ground floor, Ustad Zakir Hussain and Pandit Chitresh Das. The 2 of them used to share. And this is, we're talking 69, 70, 71, And then coming back to India, because my father said to my mother one day, my son is calling me dad. We should not live here because he'll never be a musician then. Ekhon theke dad bolche. So we came back in 3 months.
How old were you?
I was almost 6. We came back to Calcutta, early 70s, very dark because a lot of load shedding and no 24-hour television. All the perks that were there in America, nothing was there. So there was a culture shock. And then I became very reticent again and inside myself. Then going to La Martiniere for boys, going to St. Xavier's College, going to Jadavpur University. I straddled so many worlds that from my school in La Martiniere where there was no classical music literally. We had a band in school, the Satellites, which I was the conga player for. Baba was very upset that I was playing conga and but I used to come home and practice tabla. 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock practice and then 6:30 school bus used to come. And my mother being Munawar Ali Khan Saab's student, I used to walk from La Martiniere straight to Khan Saab's house and enter with the strains of Kinare Kinare and Ayana Balam and all of that and Patiala Gharana and ওখানে বসে আছে সন্ধ্যা মুখার্জি, পণ্ডিত অজয় চক্রবর্তী, গোলাম আলী, singer. So there were so many juxtapositions, musically and culturally. America, La Martiniere, Munawar Ali Khan Sahab's house. So that's what I think bifurcated the brain. And one part of me is always the classical artist, which is very, very deep rooted because that's what I grew up with and I learned that, and that is my core area. Another part of me, because of the travels and hanging out with so many jazz musicians, hanging out with so many African musicians, and etc., etc. So, so many different kinds of people. You know, I think that's where I imbibed that split personality, which actually became an advantage because I was able to take in all the cultures, so many influences as a child. As a child, you are unable to make sense of it.
Right.
As you grow up, you realize the beauty of it, or you can also be traumatized by it. There are two different possibilities.
Did trauma occur?
No, because I think there was love everywhere. Because I could play tabla as a child. My first concert, I was 9 years old, and everybody loved me. Aki bhalo bajaye. Then I would play conga. I would play that well, so my friends would say, "He's very cool," that kind of thing. Tokhonka dine bhasha chilo cat. It all kind of fit into my head later on in a holistic manner, and I think that's what worked well when I started composing. Because prior to composing, I was a pure classical artist. I'd already done, hundreds and hundreds of concerts with Ravi Shankar ji and every artist you can literally think of.
Brings me to the point. Did you organically get initiated to learning tabla, or was it, thrust upon you, or you were told that you have to play tabla because your father is such a legend in the world of tabla? Did he? Did it happen organically?
That's a good question. I must say it was both. I'll tell you how it was both. Of course, it was thrust upon me. But it was done in such a subtle manner. I didn't realize it was thrust upon me until much later.
Right.
So my father used to make something like a chakra view. I could just crawl then, So in America, he would put tablas around me in a circle.
Okay.
And I was plonked in the middle. And his thought was, he cannot escape.
Tabla,
this child
from
cannot
anywhere.
escape. When he will not escape, he will go and bang on one instrument and hopefully fall in love, because he wanted me to be a tabla player, of course, and
But
Baba
the trick was to make it very organic.
organic. So thereafter, the challenge came when I came back to Calcutta, because then my mother's family are very highly educated. So she said, you have to be full on educated. So doing that, going to school, 6:30 the bus comes, 5 o'clock you wake up, you practice for an hour, come back, do your homework. In the middle, go to Munawar Khan Sahab's house, come back, do your homework. Then you sit down for practice again. It was very taxing as a child. And I did revolt at one point of time,
Really?
Yes, I revolted very late. I revolted post 30.
Really?
Yeah, that's where a lot of the fusion comes from, So I revolted on many levels. One, of course, was that I wasn't happy with the classical music scenario offering the tabla player a second fiddle street. That was a problem for me, and I think many will agree with me. Many tabla players, including some of the biggest, that has been a problem. It's much better now, but it was a problem, and I had to wrap my head around that. And then was the fact that I started asking myself, am I really happy? Is this what I really want to do? And then I stopped playing classical tabla for 7 years. And I made rhythmscape. I did my fusion music
2001.
2001. And that's how that transition happened. Now I play a lot of classical music, but times have changed. People regard me in a certain way. They do not, I'm not exposed to those problems which were then, for a younger musician. But yeah, there were issues, and I can see them still being around,
As we are speaking now, currently, we also see many tabla players having their own concert, solo concert,
Yeah.
where tabla is the main hero of
Yeah.
the show. So, from tabla being the second fiddle to tabla now slowly carving a niche of its own and claiming a stake of its own in the world of classical music. How do you see the scenario change? And who are the change makers?
See, a lot of people did a lot of work. You have to look at the earlier generation. We're talking about people like Tarkwa Khan Sahab, people like Habibuddin Khan Sahab, then Kishan Maharaj ji, Shanta Prasad ji, then my father's generation, my father Pandit Shankar Ghosh, Allah Rakha Khan Sahab, Abba ji, and so on and so forth. Then you have a Zakir Bhai coming and being literally a comet. And then in our generation also, I mean, I've done my bit. I created a show around the tabla.
Absolutely.
And that too was a game changer of sorts, because it was very difficult to sell it early days. Nobody wanted to do a show where there was no singer. Literally, I mean, no singer, as in singer was not the pegged. It wasn't song driven. It was like hit songs. To nahi. What is the USP of the show? The USP of the show is a tabla player, and sponsors couldn't quite accept that, and the people were like very skeptical. Ki matha kharab. I heard a lot of that those days. Pretty bullish as a person. I'm like, I'm set on this. I'm going to do this. Then we did the album. You will not believe, Sony Music had entered India in 2001.
Right.
I made one track, Rhythm Speaks, the first track, which is hugely popular today. Across the globe, people are choreographed, whatever. I made that one track, and I said, I'm going to send it to Sony Music. Because our Sony Music is international and it's a very big company. Let's send it to Sony Music. I don't have their address. Nothing. So what I do is I put a CD in a little courier case, and I write Sony Music Mumbai. That's it.
And it reached.
3 weeks later, a landline call. Hi Bickram, this is Venkat. I'm from Sony Music. You sent us something. I said, yeah. You got it? That's great. Yeah, we got it. So what is this, man? I said, it's what it is. Do you like it? Oh my God, it's amazing, But it doesn't fit into any genre. What is it? It's not a song. It's not this. It's not Bollywood. It's not classical. What is it? I said, I don't know what it is. If you like it, well, let's do something. He said, what do you want from us? I said, help me make the whole album. Then I did the whole album, and they promoted it and how. And then slowly people started looking at me. And then I was, I realized I had to break my look. I don't want to look like the, very conventional tabla player, all the time in kurta pajamas like now. But this is what you told me to wear, so I'm wearing it. The interesting part is, I then broke the mold of the look also. So the look change is mind blowing, Then I grew my hair, got myself Gandhi glasses. This I'm still wearing. I wrote how I can change the game. I just had to think it out, and I figured out how can I do this. Then I have to, of course, Zakir Bhai is there, and he's such a huge name. And how can I penetrate? The playing has to be a little different, and the look should be also different. I also had curly hair, so how do I work that out? But I have Gandhi glasses, I have a goatee. So you see, you work it all out.
The nuanced differences.
You make those differences. And I used to talk to Zakir Bhai. I used to talk to him, and he used to say, "Tera baal to tera mera jaisa hai, lekin tera goti mera nahi hai. To alag hai tu."
Is that the reason you never got the title Pandit?
No, the reason I didn't get a title Pandit is because I, with all my strength, I refused it. With all my strength, I didn't think it was my USP. I was catering to a youth audience, and I think the word Pandit was kind of alienating me from the youth.
Okay.
If it's Ustad, it doesn't. It's kind of more energy there,
Right.
Pandit is Vidwat, and that's like older. So I felt it was not going to help me. So I refuted it. And how? I remember spending a whole night putting a white, little that paint you have on a CD cover which had written Pandit Bickram Ghosh. I cut out the Pandit whole night, 500 copies,
My goodness.
So, I mean, I have these idiosyncrasies which in my head, I think is all logical. Some people think it's idiosyncratic. But then there was a lot of admonishment. I mean, when I did Rhythmscape, I had leathers on. I was, wearing all this stuff on my neck and all this arm
Jewelry,
stuff,
accessories.
And men didn't wear jewelry. That in India those days, wasn't very, very in, And then I was using the hand sonic, an electronic drum, playing my body, my cheeks, and playing classical tabla all together. It was it was too much, you know. It was like
Too rebellious.
too rebellious, and people saw it as rebellion, and some people took it personally also. So, and I had people walk out of the show, the first show, you know. I had played 900 concerts with Ravi Shankar ji before that. So the image was one of a very, you know, conventional tabla player, and I was doing extremely well as in that career. You know, I was one of the top artists in tabla in my generation by that time. You know, but
So breaking away from that mold got you also a lot of criticism.
incredible amount of criticism, and I had to go through that with just one thought in my head that one day it's going to turn. They'll see the plan, and it happened. I'm like that. I am who I am, and I am very clear in my head that this is what I want and this is what I want to do. I'm willing to pay the price for it.
Right. So let me take you back a few decades and let me go back to the era when you stayed and lived with Pandit Ravi Shankar ji for over a decade at his house as a student, as a co-performer, as a, as almost like a son. So if you could share your memories with Pandit Shankar ji and your learning phase, your experiences.
See, my tabla learning was all from my father, Pandit Shankar Ghosh. Then I learned from Pandit S. Shekhar, the great Mridangam Vidwan, since the age of 12, 13. I still do. So my knowledge of Carnatic percussion has really been a game changer in my career, including Rhythmscape has a lot of Carnatic percussion in it, you know. So you have to understand that I was trained in North and South, and that was the game changer in the classical world for me, because I played, if not equal, but a huge amount of concerts with people like Balamurali ji, people like Kadri Gopalnath, people like Sheshu Gopal, and I played many concerts in the South, and I still do. That career is because of my learning from Pandit S. Shekhar. Then 1993, 14th November, something magical happened. I was in Brussels playing a concert with then young Pandit Vishwamohan Bhatt, Pandit Tarun Bhattacharya, Pandit Ronu Mazumdar, and Pandit Ramesh Mishra ji. I was playing a concert with them, and I was playing a small house concert when Prabhu Sen, who was the owner of the house, suddenly said, we hadn't started then, he said, Robuda is coming. And Ravi Shankar ji was called Robuda by his friend, Robu by his friends, you know, Robu.
Okay.
And he was a close friend of Ravi Shankar ji. Robuda is coming, so you all must play very well, huh? He's going to have dinner. So he came and he heard us play. He heard me play. And then he went around the room, touching everybody's hand and giving them Ashirwad, saying that, very good, very good. He did not come near me, didn't say anything to me, and he left after having dinner. I was living in the attic in Prabhu Kaka's house, and I was just looking at the ceiling and thinking, maybe I'm not that good. It was a major low confidence moment, you know. Ravi Shankar ji has heard me and he has congratulated everybody, only not me. As I'm thinking, and this is around 12:30 at night, the landline phone rings. Prabhu Kaka is shouting, Bickram, Robuda is on the line for you. So I go down, pick up the phone. Beta, Ami Ravi Shankar. I understand. Pranam Neven. He says, শোনো তুমি হয়তো ভাবছো, একটু বাংলায় বলি এটা, তুমি হয়তো ভাবছো why I didn't tell you anything. Actually, I had to come home and talk to Sukanya, his wife, and before I made this call to you. So, beta, I have heard such good tabla after a long time. So, you know, I'm here, I'm playing day after tomorrow in the Palais des Beaux-Arts, which is the biggest auditorium there, which is the Royal Albert Hall of Brussels. You know, will you play with me?
It was a heart-stopping moment for you.
Is this even happening to me? Whatever. I go, I play that concert. It was very good. And then one more concert next year in Dubai, he booked me for. This is November 93. Dubai is April next
94.
year. A little further down that year, he calls me, I go and meet him, and he makes me his permanent tabla player. And in the first day, gives me a list of 45 concerts. So from 95, before that I was playing already with him sporadically, but 95 I was his main tabla player for so many years. And then at some point Tanmay joins, and so that was 97, 98. But from 93 till that period, and it was magical, what I playing with him. He was childlike, excitable, exciting, throwing a challenge all the time, living in his house, becoming like a child to him. And we had a great relationship. We would talk anything under the sun, anything. We were just like two dudes talking, And this I'm doing with Ravi Shankar. I'm like, sometimes I used to pinch myself. This is not happening. আর ঘোরাঘুরি করছি, কখনো এখান থেকে জর্জ হ্যারিসন চলে গেল ওইদিকে, ওদিকে ফিলিপ গ্লাস নিয়ে এই দিকে চলে গেল, রাষ্ট্রপ্রবেশ এসে চলে যাচ্ছে, রিঙ্গো স্টার এসে চলে যাচ্ছে। সো দিস ইজ স্টিং এর বাড়িতে নেমন্তন্ন খেতে যাচ্ছি, দিস ইজ দ্য লাইফস্টাইল। এগেইন হি ওয়াজ মেনি পিপল ইন ওয়ান, because of his childhood, because of his being born, traveling from a very young age with his brother Uday Shankar, and then seeing the world. By the time he was in his teens, he had seen everything, and then going to, in sharp contrast to Maihar, and learning from Baba Alauddin Khan Sahab, and becoming an ascetic there, that kind of thing. So he had seen it all, he knew it all, and he was able to calibrate it in his head to make the whole thing fun. This is where we really hit it off, because I was already doing that. I've always believed that if you're not having a good time, don't do it. So it's always my priority. Have a good time. I do not dwell on negativity. I do not dwell on sorrow. I don't dwell on anything. I try to get out of it as soon as I can.
Did you learn it from Ravi Shankar ji more?
I learned it from my father. I learned it from Ravi ji. I learned it from Zakir Bhai. I learned it from some of my friends, and because it's something I needed to learn. Because I realized very, very early on that, I was on my own. I got to get my life in place, Ravi Shankar ji also, he was in such a bad state. He almost wanted to kill himself, at one point. That's in his autobiography. You can read it in his book. But he came out of it, and look what he did, So he and I had this great relationship. And 2012, when he passed away, for 5-6 years, I used to regularly dream of him. Regularly. And still, I'm very bonded with the family, with Chinnamma, his wife, very, very close to her. She's like here for me, So that's the way it is, These relationships make you, these relationships teach you. And for me, it's given me my career.
If you could tell us how much fun he was, and some memories of his funny things that the world doesn't know.
Raviji was one of the most intelligent people I have met. And he was very quick with repartee. Very quick. Ebong he used to love to pun with words.
Okay.
Words niye uni khela korte bhalobashten. So one day he was punning, and really very quick, sharp. So I said, Jatamoshay boltam, Jatamoshay, how do you pun like this, Right in the next second he says, that's because I'm a Pandit.
This is so good.
Me and Tanmay were very, very naughty. We were very bad boys. I mean, and he used to, in front of everybody, he used to say, very bad. I'm so angry with you all. Could never do this. And so he immediately touch his feet and beg for forgiveness and say, and then when we were alone with him, he says, so he was really fun. He was like a friend, And on the other side, he was very charming. Right? He was like a icon of the word charm,
Right.
So he would see some lady and put on his charm. That was the default screensaver in the personality, That would happen, And I remember he was probably in his early 80s then, We had landed in Italy, and we were in a lift, and There was this gorgeous Italian lady, and me and Tanmoy were. I mean, she's taller than us, and and Raviji is 5 feet 2.5 inches. But he turns around and without batting an eyelid says, "You're so beautiful. You're like a goddess." And she immediately says, "Oh, and you're Ravi Shankar. Everybody knows you across the globe. Thank you. It's an honor." So then he tells us, "Say it with confidence."
He was so good.
Superb. On the other hand, the same man was a philosopher. 1995, I'm sitting for a formal dinner with him in Japan. And I had gone to Japan with my father in 1989, and I couldn't eat anything because it was all, a lot of it was raw. And, so for me, ambassadorial dinner, and he's here, sitting next to me, I mean, unable to eat anything. So he whispers in my ear like a mantra, changed my life that moment. He said, "Bickram, you've been a good Bengali boy for so many years. But if you really want to know world culture, and by default, then world music, you have to accept other cultures. And the primary area of acceptance is putting their food in your mouth. If you don't do that, you will never imbibe the culture." Immediately, I took a squid, put it in my mouth, and that was it. He, he just broke something down in my head. And thereafter, when in Kolkata, Japanese cuisine first came, I used to be called to come and taste because I became an expert in the cuisine. I can eat as fast with chopsticks as I can eat with my hands. So this is the man. He had the capability to change your life in an instant. He would say something which, if you were sharp and intelligent and you were receptive to what he was saying, it could completely change your life. And that moment was really important in my psychological progress as a person.
Any such other moments, if you could share, that really.
I mean, there were hundreds of these. I mean, every day was a revelation, really, in that sense. So he was he used to. I remember going to watch a film with him in San Diego, in Encinitas, and it was a very important film at that point of time, and still is. Buena Vista Social Club. Now, this was a terrific film on Cuba, and how the musicians who had left playing music because of political reasons, and they came back to music in the late 70s, 80s, and 90s, and how Rai Cooder put them on the Carnegie Hall stage, and it was sold out, and they just rocked it. So Raviji and I are sitting and watching this, and then on the way back, Raviji says, about his moments, where he, from being a shishya in Maihar to going to the world stage. And if you see even today the video of Montreal Pop Festival, which is 1969, you can see that on YouTube. It's a viral video. He's playing on the same stage as all the rock stars, and everybody's uh, been just played before him, and big bands. And here is just him and Alara Khan Sahab, sitar and tabla. They come onto this humongous stage, and there's some 1 or 2 or 3 lakh people there. He comes and first lights an agarbatti, and he puts it there, and he's creating this aura. He's got flowers which he puts in a little bowl, and at the end of the concert, he gets up and he takes the flowers and throws it in the audience. So this, he was then building the image for India in a kurta pajama with agarbatti, marrying Indian music with Indian spirituality, the fact that we were an old culture, yet super exciting music. Sawal Jawab with Alara Khan Sahab, they're all going crazy, and just two people nailing it and how. So I think you learn by watching him, and for 12 long years, being with him, living with him, watching him, I imbibed a huge amount of what I am today from him.
Tell us how loving he was as a father to Anushka and Nora.
Very, 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 very affectionate. I mean, obviously, he was loving to them, and he was loving to me. I mean, he would always ask, খাবার খেয়েছো, ঠিক করে ঘুম হয়েছে, little things that used to show he cares. It's not just early days, he used to do that throughout.
Mhm.
And even later on, when I wasn't playing with him, he used to call, what's happening, kirom choche, ki kocho na. He cared. That was a very, very unique quality. He actually cared.
They say music makes people calm. Have you ever, did you ever get angry? Do you people ever get angry? How do you control and
of course.
manifest it? I mean, how
Of
do you?
course, you get angry. I get angry, and for me, I have worked on my anger. I used to have a lot of anger issues. I worked on it very hard, and I meditate for many years now. And
So he never got really angry. Ravi Shankar ji
he
never
did,
saw.
he did. But I found him by the time I had met him. He was in his 70s then. I found him to be very, very balanced in that sense. Of course, he got angry. If he would get angry with me for something, he would. Once he didn't announce the tal on stage,
Okay.
and he played this unbelievably rare, difficult tal called Tisrajati Rupak, which goes in triplets of 7 and actually is a 10.5 beat tal. And he was, yeah, you
So
you
you
make
used to-
me you make me angry, and now
Face the
play this
music.
ball, huh?
Okay, so he
So-
used to manifest his anger through music.
Through music, through,
Wow.
and he used to say it, but he was very, there was a lot of clarity. This is what I really liked about him. He would not, if he was angry, he would say it. You know, he said, "Amar khub kharap lageche. I didn't like it. You mustn't do this again. It made me sad." He would say, "It made me sad."
Mm-hmm. That made all the
And
difference.
made all the difference. Oh my God. He was like, "Hey, I made him sad." This is Ravi Shankar.
Both you and Anushka have stalwart fathers who are big names in their professions or in their music genre. Being their children, how difficult was it to carve a niche of your own, or do you think it's difficult for children of such maestros to create an identity of their own and be successful, or
If
do you
you-
think it helps?
If you look at the percentage of children who are successful, parents very successful, then the child is also successful. It's quite a low percentage actually.
Right.
If you look at it, it's not very high.
No.
I must bring the reference of Zakir Bhai here. He used to say, now he, in all respects, he made it on his own. You know, he was Allah Khan Sab's son, he was Abaji's son, but he made it on his own. You know, but he said something very relevant. He said, you know, whatever I did on my own, I did on my own, fine. But I always had a calling card called Ustad Zakir. I would enter somebody's house and say, "I'm Ustad Zakir's son," and I would be granted an interview or a chance. From there on, it was my,
Own
potential, my caliber, but I would get that entry. That was the advantage. And for me also, I would, and my father would never recommend me. He would never ever make a call for me. Never did, So I would go and say, "Ami Shankar Ghosh's chele." That would work. So that's it. And then the disadvantage is that you are constantly compared with your father. I was compared. First 5 years, I was abysmal in my career, because everybody was saying, "Shankar Ghosh's chele bhaloi bajacche, but babar moto hobe ki na bodhoy hai." Then my father used to tell me that, stop playing my style. Find your own style. Change your style of playing. And once I did that, I brought in South Indian, I brought in some Banaras style, a little bit of Punjab. I recalibrated the soundscape and all of it, and then it was just magic, and then it worked. So even there, he helped me out. He said that you cannot copy me, you can't be like me. So that's why Zakir Bhai also worked. He was not copying Allah Raka Khan Sahab.
Right.
It's not easy.
So
It's tough.
are your sons as interested, the third generation, in tabla? You have two sons, one is 20, another is 11. Are they as interested or invested in music as you are or your father was?
I think both my sons are invested and interested in music, but it is yet to be seen whether they take it on professionally. So my older son is studying BBA, Adit, and he is, he's got a great ear. He dabbles in all kinds of, he plays drums, he plays tabla, he plays cajon. The younger one is learning tabla meticulously and also learning from Pandit Shekharji, my Guruji, Carnatic system he's learning. and he is amazing. He's making amazing music on his laptop, and he's just 11. I think he's got a compositional ear also.
Okay.
But it's all early days. I don't want to make predictions for them. I don't know.
Your mom, Sanjukta Ghosh, was a renowned singer who has also sung for Ravi Shankar ji in
Yes,
Bangladesh.
yes,
And
yes.
she comes from the Patiala Gharana, Munawar Ali Khan, all this legacy. How much of an influence was your mom or your mother when it comes to music in your life?
My mother lives with us here, the floor below, and Ma has been hugely influential in through her singing. If she was not a singer, I doubt if I would be a composer. I think the tabla part comes from Baba.
Right.
Yes, a certain part of the compositional part also comes from him through music of the drums and Calcutta Drum Orchestra and all of that he did. But hearing her sing all day, all my life at home, going with her to Munawar Khan Sahib's house, being exposed to Patiala Gharana, all of that, I think that has really left a mark on my musical psyche, which is why my melodies, people say, are very good. I create melodies, and I am able to create melodies very often, and it doesn't take me long to do it. I think that comes from my mother's side because of all the exposure to such incredible singing,
Right.
incredible singing. I mean, all the stalwarts were singing, they were there in front of me. I was playing Theka with all of them,
And still, she didn't take her career to a peak. I mean, do you think it's a sacrifice she made to rear you, or?
See, we have to understand one thing that she did sing a lot. She did do many concerts, and as a teacher, she's very well known and very respected. Even today, she teaches. But yes, bringing me up in those days, and I think she was not aggressive to make her own career. Her passion has always been learning. And she's a very good singer, and she was happy being in the music. And in a sense, of course, I think she could have become a bigger name. That I do think. But then you're also the wife of a very famous man. That's it's not easy because people come to the house and then they're looking for Baba, and that was I think it must have been difficult. It can't be easy, but still she did a very good job of it because she sang a lot, and Baqaida made Baba accompany her on many occasions, and taught at Aligarh College, worked with Ravi Shankar ji.
Right,
It's a lot of work.
Do you see the similar trait in your wife that your mother had? She also had a very successful career. We saw her in Kahani Ghar Ghar Ki, and
See, no, I would say no because Jaya is very successful as an artist, as an actor certainly. Jaya, she's a woman I fell in love with at first sight.
okay,
It doesn't happen. I never thought it happened, and I was in my late 30s by then. So it's not something that I believed in, but it happened. So I loved her innocence. I loved the truth in her eyes, and an amazing artist as an actor, spot on, brilliant, one of the best there is today. But I have seen her journey as a dancer in front of my eyes, and the grit she has, learning from Thankamani Kutti and then Rama Vedanathan. All these years through our marriage, she has learned and been so hardworking even today. That today, as a dancer, I will say this, that she is up there. Let's not forget that even after marriage, she's done several films. She did Alifa, she got Best Actress Award for it. She also has done Ashram, season 3. She is still doing films, and I think she's going to do more and more now.
let's get back again to your initial stage of the career where you stayed with Ravi Shankar ji and met the stalwarts like Sting and George Harrison. If you could take us through that phase and those experiences.
He was George's guru. I remember, Sting coming to our concert in the UK. George used to come every year without fail to the Barbican Center concert, and he would come and sit there almost incognito because he used to come in such simple clothes, and people before they had recognized him, he was out. So that way.
Unassuming.
And he and I had a really affectionate relationship, George and I. George used to call me the Prince of Tabla. And for a young man my age, those days, it was a humongous compliment. And he used to really like my playing, which is why he invited me to play on his last album, Brainwashed. I came back with the feeling that I had met somebody who was very godly, because George had a very strong spiritual side. He was a gardener also.
Okay.
He showed me around his garden. He was meticulous in keeping his garden. Thing I met only once. He had come to a concert in the UK, and we had been invited, all Raviji and family and myself, to his house for dinner. What was interesting is that I was on a non-meat diet those days. I only had seafood, no meat. And that was many years. I did that for 9 years. So Sting didn't know that. So when we arrived at his house, I said I eat only seafood. So he quickly whipped up a prawn something for me, and
Oh, really?
I ate it. So I was
He made it on his own.
On his own. Yeah, it was like a humongous honor for me. But I remember that day, and I have a photo of an after concert photo of that day.
Your experience and working relationship with another daughter of Raviji, Nora Jones. So if you could tell us how your relationship with her was and how you collaborated as musicians together. And there's a surprise coming, which I would like you to share with our audience also.
You see, we knew her as Gitu, Gitali, and of course Nora as well. And she was not the Nora Jones then. And I'm talking about 1997, 98, 99. And there was a tour she went on with us in the UK. And of course, we were friends. And Anushka, me, her, we were friends. And used to hang out a lot those days. Then she started making an album. And she too used to call me Vicky. And she said to me, Vicky, will you play on it? And the album was Come Away With Me eventually. That's
Right.
what made her Nora Jones. And I did record on that album in New York. And then she even offered me some money, which I didn't take because I thought this is her and she's family. And but I realized it was a fantastic album then when I heard it. But I somehow felt then that the tabla was probably not appropriate for that album, because it had double bass, and it had very acoustic sound, and nothing was Indian in it. Many years later, quite recently, I get a letter from her and her management saying that we would like to use your tablas now for the some 2-decade edition of Come Away With Me.
Oh, wow.
And can we do that? And yes, I said yes. So I'm waiting for that to come out now.
Your camaraderie, the relationship that you shared with Zakir Hussain, Ustad Zakir Hussain, and some insight into the great colorful persona that he is, that others would not know.
One aspect of our relationship was there was a lot of affection which he showered on me, because as I told you earlier on, we lived in the same house when I was a child, and so he was living downstairs and we were living upstairs, and so he used to babysit me. And he is here some years back here in Victoria Memorial. They released his book, written by Nasreen Munni Kabir, and I was called to moderate that session with him, with Zakir Bhai, and I did that. And while I was asking him questions, he suddenly stopped and said, he's asking me all these important questions, but you all must know that, he was just a little tiny kid, and he didn't have such a big mouth then, and he was just a tiny kid, and I used to babysit him, and now he's asking me all these questions. So, but it's okay. Yeah, he's Bickram Ghosh and all of that, but he's just a kid. So typical of him, and there's this wonderful moment where he just plonks a kiss on my cheeks on that day. But for me, there was a very important day in 1999 when he sat me down for 4 hours and gave me a lecture on what I should be doing with my career. And in it, he said, you have to explore. You're too talented to not explore. And बाकी समझदार के लिए इशारा काफी है, तुम समझ लो. I'll give you a little anecdote. 1996, I played Chicago Symphony Hall with Ravi Shankar ji. And next day he was playing Indianapolis, which is 45 minutes from there. Arrives, drives his own car. He used to always drive. So he comes to the venue late. His flight from Paris has arrived late. His suitcase hasn't arrived. His tabla hasn't arrived. In 1.5 hours, he has to go on stage with Ravi Shankar ji. So he asked me, "Where are your tablas?" I said, "Mine are in Chicago. Jaane aane mein to 1.5 ghanta, so it's not enough time." He ended up playing a pair of tablas which was on a restaurant window. And he remembered कि उस restaurant में है वो मंगवाओ. And his student Shyam Khane's kurta pajama. They swapped. He was in track pants. They swapped, and he played that, and nobody could realize that he was playing such a bad instrument which is kept in the window of a restaurant. The way he played it, that day I went back to the hotel and I couldn't sleep all night. I took out my tablas and started riyaz at 2 a.m. in the morning because I thought that this man is God. अगर उस तबला से ये कर सकता है तो ये तो भगवान ही है. So that is the level of greatness that he represented, and I've seen that up front. Any tabla player without his instrument, having to play an instrument which is on a restaurant window, वो क्या करेगा, वो मुश्किल बात है.
I've seen you break into jugalbandi or with your, mouth and with all the tals that you put. I've seen you in Serendipity do that. Can you think of any of your favorite 2 lines of that for our audience?
There is a bowl which goes like this. Tagda, tadagda, dagna tagatikina nagataka, da kadatika katika dana na 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 tak gendraanda, dagda gendraanda, dagda gendraanda, dagda. This is a simple tabla bowl. Think of this with a story. The story is you're in a jungle. There is a big animal, maybe a lion or a tiger, and there is a small animal, a rabbit, a deer.
Okay, vulnerable.
Yeah. One is chasing the other, and somehow the little one escapes. Now see, the big animal, small one, so
This is so amazing. You've also worked in more than 40 50 Hindi Bengali films.
yeah, about 46
Yeah,
Bengali
46
films now.
Bengali films. You're going to score a half a century soon.
Yes.
And among them, 24 or 25 is with Arindam Sil. How do you find Arindam Sil as a person?
See, Arindam and I have always shared a great friendship, and our work together has been very good and heralded also. If you look at the Bomkesh series, the Shabor series, films like Durga Shahai, films like Mohananda, I got a Filmfare for that, and there is a body of work which is relevant and important, and I think Arindam will come back, with a good set of films.
How was it working with Aniruddha for his very special project, Dear Maa, which is going to be released next week?
Aniruddha, Tony, to me, I know Tony from, I don't know, my childhood, because me and Tanmay have been childhood friends, and Tanmay Bose, well-known tabla player, my colleague, Tanmay and Tony were classmates in South Point.
Right.
But I knew Tony through Tanmay.
Right.
And I knew him all our lives because of that association, But the friendship really became intense post our 50s, when we entered into our 50th years. And for the last 5-6 years now, we hang out in Tollygunge Club. Every morning we have our morning coffee together, and literally without fail, unless we are traveling. Either of
Every
us is traveling
morning.
every morning. Maybe 4 years into it, we started talking about working together. But we both were a little insecure because, see, we are not youngsters in school or college. So we don't want to let go of the friendship. That's very precious. You can end up having differences which are insurmountable.
Mhm.
So we both felt कि थोड़ा देर रुक जाते हैं और because let the friendship become more stronger and then work. And then one day he said कि hey, I want to do Dear Maa and this is a wonderful film. We should work together. I said yeah, I think it's time now. I think we are secure. We should be able to do this. We both are worked in this film like in a jugalbandi. He wanted a song, I gave him a song. I wanted something even scripturally, he would look at it. He would not say, na, na, eta to amar daira. He would say, Acha, Bickram is saying this, we should look at it. The songs have turned out to be so lovely. And Papon, Shubha Mudgalji, and Tinni, this young find, she's 7 years old. Oh my God, what a singer. And then there's a song by Ujjaini and Anindo of Chandrabindu, which Anindo has written also, which is the only Bengali song. All the other songs are in Hindi
Right.
in a Bengali film. This is probably one of the only occasions that you'll see something like this. But with Tony, it's been a pleasure. Really, he's very sensitive. He's sensitive and smart, which is a very rare combination. When you're sensitive and smart, then you take the right call. You can put your ego aside, and yet you know that this is the point where the heart is going to be touched. This note will touch the heart. This scene will touch the heart. So he knows that, and that makes my job easier also. And because he has been very closely connected to classical music, he learned from Buddhadev Dasgupta, the
Right.
famous. He learned sarod. He has an ear for music.
Any other projects you're working, film projects apart from Dear Maa that will be seeing the.
Yes, I mean, in Bangla, there is Debi Chodurani,
Right.
which is Shubhrajit Mitro's next film, which is a big film, and that is complete. Then I worked on Girish Malik's Band of Maharajas, which
Right.
got me an Oscar contention again for both Best Song and Best Original Score. And I did a film, a docu-drama, a docu-feature with Girish called Mahamantra, which is on Lord Shiva, which is a fantastic project, which I did the music for. And then Girish's upcoming films are also there, which are now. So these projects are all in Hindi, which are in the pipeline. But I am restricting my work in cinema a little bit now. And cinema I will do only if the project is really mind blowing. If it really requires my skill set, then I will do it.
Before we end, I would like you to do that beautiful skit that you do. The squabble between a husband and wife put into if we could end that, if you can explain to the audience that the viewers that how we do it, and if you could tell the backstory and do it for us.
Well, I'll do the husband wife, and I'll take it to the child also.
Yes.
So, man meets woman. Early days, everything is hunky dory, very nice. So man says in Tabla language, "Dhati dage na tha." The lady says, "Kiti takta." "Ghina dage na thuna kina." "Would you like to go and have some coffee?" "Kiti takta." "Besh to." All is lovely and hunky dory and romantic. 2 years down the line, "Dhati dage na thuna kina." "Kiti takta kiti dena tha." "Pradhane kiti takta kiti dage na thuna kina tha." Relationships develop like that, as everybody knows. But 7 years later, this story my father used to say. Little boy goes to school every day. And every day in his heart, he is hoping, God, make it a holiday today. Aaj chutti kor dao. Bari chole ashi. Khela kori. Mathe jai. One day he goes, and lo and behold, yes, the gates are shut. And the gate man says, "Baba, aaj chutti hai, ghar jao." He's so happy. He dances his way back home. Dance. Korte comes home, rings the doorbell. Mother opens the door, and he says, "Mommy, guess what? It's a holiday." Mummy, like all other mothers, says, so what? Go and study. This in Tabla language. What happens? He goes, the gate is shut. Gate man says, Baba, aaj chutti hai, ghar jao. He's so happy, he dances his way back home. So he's going, takadinati, 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 doorbell. Mother opens the door. Mommy, it's a holiday. Mommy says, Daduna, Daduna, Kritika, Kritika, Gendran, Gendran, Daduna, Gattada. Ja, por the worst. Boy still runs out. Mother says, get run Daduna Kat, Kanduret in Anlo. Get run Daduna Kat. Get run Daduna Kat. Takat bangs the door shut on his face. Por the worst. On the rare occasion, like with us, it used to happen. Mother is even more angry, goes,
Oh, that's such a wonderful. So lovely. Thank you for enlivening our show.
you're welcome.
So much love, so much music, so much fun. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on your show.
And next time, we are going to come back with yet another interesting guest. To see the full chat, please subscribe Indulge Express on YouTube. See you next time. Bye bye.